Hey there, sellers. This video is for you. What we're going to be talking about today might be a little bit sensitive, but have an open mind because this is the genuine feedback actual buyers have when touring your homes. Hey there, I am Christina Sparks, realtor with Real Broker, owner, House of Sparks. All right, let's get right into it. Today, we're going to talk about the biggest things that buyers have feedback on once they get finished touring their home, once they are touring your home. There are things you can do to prevent buyers from feeling these things. And as we all know, you just can't make everybody happy. So take these with a grain of salt. So if you listen to some of these complaints, maybe there are some adjustments you can make to your current listing, or at least have these things in mind when you're going to list. Let's get right into it. These are things that frustrate buyers, and these are the repeating offenders, the repeating comments that I hear day in and day out when buyers are touring properties. So the first complaint is no seller disclosures. If you are selling your home, your agent should have you fill out a series of documents called seller disclosures. There is an option, of course, to not fill all of these questions out. However, this is extremely frustrating for buyers going into a property basically blind. Now, in Missouri, the seller disclosures are pretty basic. What kind of AC and heat system you have, how old the roof is there a well? Very basic questions make up this form. Now, of course, you have the option not to fill out anything that you just don't know the answer to, which is fine and understandable. Buyers constantly complain when there are no seller disclosures to go off of. Even if the property was inherited or rented, there are basic things that you as the homeowner should know. The second thing kind of has to do with the first, and it's going to be things that were not disclosed. Sometimes a seller will fill out these seller disclosures, or they will not disclose upfront issues that you can visibly see with your eyes. The part that frustrates the buyer is, they take their time to read the seller disclosures before scheduling and going out to the property to see it in person. And when they see it in person, they see things that clearly should have been disclosed in the seller disclosures. So it's always a good idea to be upfront and transparent about everything you know about the property, because all that's going to do is cause problems later on. For example, frustrated buyers, or during the inspection, you're going to come up with a bunch of different issues. It is always best to disclose and be transparent with as much information as possible. It makes the deal smoother. It makes the trust factor a little bit more strong throughout the transaction, and it's just overall a good idea. Okay, next. Buyers constantly complain about cleanliness, tidiness, and or smells. Now, this kind of could go into the whole disclosure part. I can't tell you how many houses I've walked into with buyers where there is a super strong pet smell. And while the box was checked that the current owner has pets, it should be disclosed how strong that smell is, because some people just can't handle that smell. And if you think you're getting rid of it by moving all your furniture out, you are wrong. So the home cleanliness is another issue, and decluttering. I always suggest my sellers declutter and even have a professional deep clean before they list, just because if you do not declutter, it makes it so much harder for your potential buyers to envision their stuff in your home. Whether that means you renting a storage unit or putting everything in the garage, you always want to try to have your buyer imagine their things in your home. And it's really difficult when there's boxes everywhere or there's rooms cluttered up. It just makes it a lot more difficult. Now, cleanliness. So I'm going to walk you through what a buyer mindset is, okay? So a buyer walks in the house and they see the intake vent that is caked in dust, or they see a stove that looks like it hasn't been cleaned in 6 months, or they go into the bathroom and the toilet or the tub or the shower is just dirty. The first thing that comes into a buyer's mind is, if they haven't taken care of these simple things, what else have they not taken care of? And it's not wrong for a buyer to think that way. So whenever you're trying to sell your home, you really want to avoid that question in the buyer's mind. You want to make sure your home is up to par and presented in the best light possible. All right, complaint number 4, the biggest complaint. The picture's not looking like the actual house. Now, everybody's heard the saying, pictures can be deceiving. So I have had a lot of buyers and a lot of properties where, you see the pictures online and you get to the property and it looks so much different than the pictures do, whether that's the lighting, the angles, whatever. Of course, you want to present your house in the best possible way. However, you don't want to be misleading. You don't want rooms to look twice as big as they actually are. You don't want the photos to be edited so much in a way that it looks completely different, whether it's the flooring, the walls, the lighting. Again, you want your house to be portrayed in its best light, definitely, but in its most transparent and honest light. You don't want to mislead buyers. You don't want to create a bunch of traffic that isn't intentional. Do you know what I mean? You don't want a bunch of buyers coming in that really wouldn't be interested in your house because of the actual way that it looks. So if you are thinking about selling your home, take these complaints into consideration. Fill out the seller disclosures, all of them, to the best of your knowledge. Everything that you know, even from when you bought it. If you knew something when you bought it, put that on there. Full transparency is always best. And I know this isn't a possibility for everybody, but have the house professionally cleaned and or declutter the property before you take photos and list it, because that alone will help your buyer envision their belongings in your property. And if it smells like pets, if it smells like fungal, if it has a smell, disclose it. And when it comes to photos, your agent will likely hire a professional photographer. And the best thing that you can do is have your agent request that the photos not be highly filtered, highly edited to make it look like it's not even your house, what it actually looks like in person. I hope you got some helpful information from this video. Of course, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. I am happy to help any way that I can. Have a great day.